Next on the news.
This Catholic Schools Week, Bishop Brennan is stepping into the classroom, but he's getting his own lesson in faith. I'm Jessica Easthope with what he learned from students at St. Sebastian Catholic Academy.
You are my strength.
Mourners in Memphis. Family and friends lay Tyree Nichols to rest as people demand change. The Pontiff's trip through Africa continues. The dire message he has for the, quote, rich world about Africa's resources. Want to work alongside the church? The free service showing you the best way to help others. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now.
I think we can enjoy being open to learning new things, opening to learning new mysteries.
Bishop Robert Brennan was only visiting St. Sebastian Catholic Academy, but he's learning like he's right back in class. The bishop made a stop at the Woodside School as part of his Catholic Schools Week agenda. He was met with an assembly, presentation, songs, and trivia that was all about him. But Bishop Brennan said the students taught him something much more meaningful about living out your faith. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story.
Never use the name of God in a bad or careless way.
Bishop Robert Brennan was the biggest kid in kindergarten. As he flipped pages and captured the attention of the class, he was learning something too.
This year for me, it's a little bit more like being at home. But even this year, I see myself experiencing new things.
A lesson about St. Sebastian Catholic Academy and how its students share their Catholic identity.
We're really kind. We take care of each other. We're just like one big family.
Good morning.
Bishop Brennan took a tour Wednesday for Catholic Schools Week. He was brought from class to class by the 8th grade ambassadors. The students wanted everything to be perfect.
I was a little nervous at first because, he's the head of the diocese.
I was nervous a little bit because I'm going to read and I'm hope I don't make a mistake.
Especially 6th grader Gracie Galindo. She says there's nothing she loves more than her school.
The Catholic community is awesome. The school is awesome. They have great teachers. I just love it. I've been here since pre-K.
Oldest of 5 children.
At an assembly, their knowledge was put to the test, presenting to Bishop Brennan essays about his motto and trivia facts about his life.
When a bishop is ordained,
Principal Michelle Picarillo says there's one thing the school's curriculum never strays from.
Our Catholic identity is important to us, and everything that we do and everything that we're about is Jesus Christ at the center.
And Bishop Brennan picked up on the pride students have in their faith now and how it will affect their futures.
Our students are very comfortable living Catholic life. They speak with the vocabulary of our faith. They have a way of relating it to the whole of their life. It's all integrated.
It's something you can't find in a book. In Woodside, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
Bishop Brennan has a long and impressive resume, but he may have just accomplished his most impressive feat yet. While visiting students at St. Peter's Catholic Academy on Tuesday, he joined in on the fun and played some hoops with the kids. He also celebrated Mass with them and toured the school. Also, while there, he met with faculty, talked about the teachings of Jesus with the students, and played other games with them. Schools in the diocese are doing such a great job. They're even attracting students who aren't Catholic. This week on Currents News, we're going to introduce you to one family who chose a faith-based education after watching stories unfold on Currents News and in the tablet.
She said, I have a crazy idea. And I said, I think it might be the same thing I'm thinking. And before I knew it, she blurted out, she said, what about Catholic school? And I said, yeah. And it was one of the easiest decisions we've ever made together.
And they're not the only ones. 30% of students enrolled in Diocese of Brooklyn schools are not Catholic, but their parents see value in the faith-based curriculum. That's Thursday on Currents News. The tablet is celebrating Black History Month. In the newspaper's latest issue, we visit Brooklyn Jesuit Prep. There we break down why Black history is crucial to a school's everyday curriculum and how it's reaching out to young Christians of the borough. For more information on Catholic Schools Week, Black History Month, and much more happening around the Diocese of Brooklyn and beyond, subscribe to the tablet. Just go to thetablet.org. The hunt for more classified documents is underway. The FBI searched the vacation home of President Joe Biden Wednesday morning. This beach home, as well as others, are part of an ongoing search to find top secret papers the president may have had while working for the Obama administration. The commander-in-chief welcomed the search. This is happening after documents were discovered at Biden's other home and former office. The White House extended its condolences to the family of Tyree Nichols as Vice President Kamala Harris attended his funeral Wednesday afternoon. Family and friends celebrated Nichols' life after it was taken too soon. Ivan Rodriguez has more.
A Memphis community comes together in mourning.
We long to not be here in this moment, in this way, for this reason.
Celebrating the life of Tyree Nichols.
A good person, a beautiful soul, a son, a father.
In attendance, Vice President Kamala Harris, civil rights leaders, and the families of others who died at the hands of police.
I'm here to stand in solidarity with the family.
Memphis police officers beat, tased, and pepper sprayed Nichols during a traffic stop on January 7th. Nichols died from his injuries 3 days later. The encounter captured on camera.
This violent act was not in pursuit of public safety.
5 former Memphis police officers are facing second-degree murder charges in connection with his death. Prosecutors say they're looking at everyone involved and believe firmly in their case.
We're confident that we'll be able to prove every element of every of those offenses charged to a jury beyond a reasonable doubt.
Civil rights leaders now demanding action, accountability, and change nationwide in the face of yet another death of a black person at the hands of law enforcement.
I don't know when, I don't know how, but we won't stop until we hold you accountable and change this system.
The Holy Father's first full day in the Democratic Republic of Congo started with joyful noise as Pope Francis attended Mass with the country's largely Catholic population. The pontiff celebrated the Mass at the airport in French, the official language of the Congo, as well as the Bantu-based Creole language. During his homily, which the Pope delivered in Italian but was translated for the crowd in French, he again urged peace and an end to the violence happening in the country.
We need to believe that we Christians are called to cooperate with everyone, to break the cycle of violence, to dismantle the machinations of hatred. Yes, Christians sent by Christ are called by definition to be a conscience of peace in our world.
Following that joyous celebration, a poignant encounter at the Vatican Embassy as the Pope heard the harrowing accounts of those victims of violence in the Congo. Survivor after survivor told their story, then laid down objects that symbolize their plight before a crucifix, such as a machete or a dagger. They also knelt in front of the Pope, who blessed them all quietly. Senior correspondent for Crux, Elise Allen, is traveling with the Pope and joins us now from Congo. Hi, Elise.
Hi, Christine.
All right, Elise, there's been a lot of reporting about the huge number of people who turned out for the Pope's Mass. And we talked yesterday about the Christian population, particularly the number of Catholics in Africa. But were you surprised by this crowd? Have you ever seen such a big turnout for a papal Mass? Tell us about it.
You know, that's something that I and other members of the Vatican Press Corps traveling with the Pope have actually been talking about amongst ourselves the last few days. It's just sort of the massive turnout of people that we've seen today. This morning at Mass, there were over 1 million people present. You know, and as we discussed yesterday, Congo is a majority Catholic country. There were about 45 million Catholics here. So this is really a special moment for the Congolese people. It was certainly that vibe, and the vibe was very joyful, very celebratory.
Wow. All right, let's take a closer look at the Pope's homily. He seemed to talk a lot about forgiveness. Let's listen.
Momento propizio per te che in questo paese ti dici cristiano ma commetti violenze. A te il Signore dice deponi le armi, abbraccia la misericordia.
Recent conflicts in the country have left millions dead, but the Holy Father says that cycle of violence can be broken, and he said Christians bear some of the responsibility. What was his message?
The Pope this morning really drove home the message of forgiveness. He said, as Christians, it's great to talk about peace, but peace only comes as a result of a willingness to forgive. So he said, that's one part. You have to go beyond whatever ethnic and regional divisions there might be, whatever temptations or external circumstances might make you want to be angry at the other person, or maybe even hate the people around you, your neighbors or people from other ethnicities. But you know what? In order to really move forward, you have to give up all of those things. You have to give up the things that naturally divide you, and you have to focus on coming together to forgive, because that is really the only way that peace is going to be achieved in this country after so many years and decades of conflict.
And during the Mass, we noticed a few people holding signs asking for the immediate canonization of 2 Congolese martyrs. Briefly tell us a little bit about them and what's the status of their sainthood causes?
So it's a good question. The banners of these 2 people were hanging from the main altar, and then there were people in the crowds, with banners saying "Santo subito," which is, basically canonize them immediately. So one of them is a young layman by the name of Isidore Bankaja. He received the faith and began to evangelize sort of everywhere he went, and that became problematic when he started kind of evangelizing other workers on a rubber plantation that he was working on. And so they asked him to renounce his faith. They asked him to stop talking about it. And Isidore said no, he refused. And so he was beaten severely to the point of death, but he in his final moments forgave his attackers. And a very similar situation happened to the nun in question. It's Sister Marie Clementine, also converted, was baptized at a young age, and sort of ran away from home to join the convent when she was quite young. Some rebels had attacked her convent, and they basically wanted to rape her and have her renounce her faith, and she refused. And so she was shot to death, and she also died forgiving her attackers.
Fascinating. The Pope also met with war victims from Eastern Congo today. What was his message to them?
This was a very special meeting, because as you know, for decades, Congo has been just ravaged by this conflict in their eastern regions, and there are just untold atrocities that are happening to local people. And so some of these people had the opportunity to meet with Pope Francis this afternoon, and he really had a strong message of consolation for them, really telling them that he is close to them, that he is with them, the church wants to be there to console them, and he also took the occasion to really call out those who are responsible for the conflict and who perpetuate it. So he was very consoling, but also at the same time was not shy in calling out the people he thought needed to be held to account.
Elise Allen, senior correspondent for Crux. Thank you, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Thanks, Christine.
Be sure to tune in to Currents News and the Tablet for more in-depth coverage of the Pope's trip, plus the amazing faith of the people of Africa. There's a lot more news headed your way. Helping others through the church, the free training course teaching people to help one another to the fullest. Confusion over abortion legality, the widespread uncertainty women have in a post-Roe America. No road rage here, the beautiful gesture by Jeep owners for their fellow Texans.
Currents News is there.
The first March for Life since Roe v. Wade was overturned.
People kept coming in, and there was a really big celebration atmosphere.
The March for Life. From Brooklyn.
What parishes do we have here?
St. Mark's, Immaculate Heart of Mary,
to Washington.
This generation has a lot of eyes on them, and so if we come out and show support and stand firm, hopefully change will be made in the future.
And the work that lies ahead.
Transform the culture.
When news happens, Currents News is there.
Ever think about volunteering with the church and helping people in need? Well, there's actually a training program that can help get you ready. The Diocese of Brooklyn is offering effective compassion training free of charge. Paul Cerny, Operations Manager and Pastoral Initiatives Associate for the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph and St. Teresa of Avila parishes, joins us now to tell us more about this event. Hi, Paul.
Hi, Christine.
Thanks for being here. So parishioners in the diocese have always been helping people in need. Why would you say this training is needed right now?
Well, two things. First of all, food pantries that we operate here have been very useful, very successful in helping a lot of people. But at the same time, we still have poverty, right? So it's not just a question of just giving people something. It's like, how are we going to walk with them? Like the word compassion comes from to suffer with, right? We want to be able to walk with these people that we're helping and see where their real needs are.
Okay, so it's kind of like breaking the cycle. So somebody's not coming to you all the time just for food. You're helping them get out of that situation.
Exactly, and a lot of situations with when it comes to giving, whether it's welfare or food pantries or whatever, sometimes you create dependency. And so dependency is obviously not good for a person's human dignity. It's not good just to break out of the cycle of poverty. So you want to find ways for these people to get out of that dependency and to build their own lives.
So what is something you'll learn if you take this training?
Well, the philosophical underpinnings of why we do this, which are based largely on Catholic social teaching.
Okay.
One is that, as I mentioned, the importance of the human dignity of the person, right? The value, intrinsic value of each person, and why it's so important that we help people become independent, right, and build their own futures, right? That's one thing.
Okay, so we've been reporting lately on how some soup kitchens are struggling nowadays with an influx of migrants, the cost of food going up. How do we continue this good work when we have such limited resources?
Well, one is to realize that, first of all, the poor also have the answer to their problem. You know, they themselves have that answer. That means to value work, right? And initiative, responsibility, even entrepreneurship, for example. We can't do it all ourselves, right? But the poor themselves can probably do a lot more than we would think, right? Until we engage with them, right, and walk with them in their suffering, we'll understand better how we can help them.
So enabling them, I like that. All right, Paul Cerny from the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph and St. Teresa of Avila Parish. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
The training session will be on Saturday, February 4th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph. To register, contact the Co-Cathedral at 718-638-1071 or email Paul Cerny at pcerny@stjosephs-brooklyn.org. Meanwhile, the city says hundreds of migrants have now voluntarily moved to Brooklyn. At first, the newcomers who were camped out in front of a hotel in Hell's Kitchen were refusing to relocate to the Brooklyn cruise terminal. Activists were calling conditions there uninhabitable. But New York City Immigrant Affairs says that's not true, that the shelter is warm, has an adequate number of bathrooms, and has free transportation available. Now to Minnesota, where getting an abortion has just gotten easier. The governor signed a bill into law Tuesday that gives women the fundamental right to access abortion in the state.
We are going to make bodily autonomy and the decisions that women make their decision to make. And this piece of legislation today makes sure that the only person making that decision is the individual involved.
With the new law, Minnesota becomes the first state to codify abortion rights through legislative action since Roe v. Wade was reversed. Minnesota's Republican state lawmakers argue that the Protect Reproductive Options Act is too extreme. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services proposed reducing the legal protections to the contraception mandate. The rule released Monday removes the mandate that allows employers to opt out due to moral objections and creates a pathway for those enrolled in plans with religious exemptions to access contraceptive services without charge. In a response, New York's Cardinal Timothy Dolan, who heads the U.S. Bishops' Committee for Religious Liberty, released a statement that said, in part, their elimination of protections for moral convictions is disheartening. The proper reaction to the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs is not, as the proposed regulations claim, to make it free for women to sterilize themselves, but rather to relieve the burdens that our laws and culture place both on mothers and those who may become mothers. The proposal comes as a new study says nearly half of adults in the U.S. are unsure whether medication abortion is legal in their state. So where do states fall in their limits and restrictions of abortion? States colored light blue are areas that abortion remains legal. The ones in that mustard yellow color have a 20-week or less limitation on abortion. Some states are still in limbo over legislation. Those are in purple. And the states in red have either banned or severely restricted abortions. Still to come on Currents News. The unlikely heroes that helped out after a bad Texas storm. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
Do everything I can to help them out, and I know the rest of the guys do too.
Texans are there for someone's time of need as Mother Nature creates dangerous conditions. Our next story is the exact opposite of road rage. As Currents News' Andy Madison shows us, even the smallest can lend a hand when coming to help a stranger in need.
Tuesday on I-20. Anyone with two eyes and on four wheels could see ICE doing what ICE does. And Texans doing what Texans do.
We are pulling semis.
Yep, watch this. A couple dozen off-roaders rode up to the interstate. And in their little Jeeps,
toe straps, deer rings, shackles, you name it, we got everything.
Towed some seriously big semis stuck trying to get uphill.
I mean, why not, right?
There's no doubt the dozens of trapped truckers appreciated the lift.
Ready. Thank you. Be safe, man. Yes, appreciate you guys. Thank you. Thank you.
It's sad to see them stuck, you know, like my dad's a trucker and I feel for them and I know I want to do everything I can to help them out. And I know the rest of the guys do too.
The reality is it's bad out here. We just want people to be safe.
Proof we can navigate the iciest of interstates with just a few dozen warm-hearted helpers.
You would be amazed what we can do.
Andy Madison, Currents News.
That's awesome. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Before we let you go, here are the highlights of the Pope's trip to Africa.